The following is a commentary by attorney-author Andrew J. Shatkin titled, Why I Believe in Democracy. I present here my thoughts on why I believe in our democratic system of representative government. This essay largely is taken from my essay, Why I Believe in Democracy, contained in my book, Essays on the Christian Worldview, published by Hamilton Books. The original essay has been modified and additions have been made for this video. A few days ago, when I was browsing at a bookstore in Penn Station, waiting for my Long Island Railroad train, I saw a book entitled The Future of Freedom, Illiberal Democracy at Home and Abroad by Fareed Zakaria. The book and its contents interested me, so I bought the book. I found the book deeply disturbing, even on mere facial examination. The author states that over the past decade, elected governments claiming to represent the people have steadily encroached on the powers and rights of other elements in society. In a later section, Mr. Zakaria points out that when Americans are asked what public institutions they most respect, three bodies are always at the top of the list: the Supreme Court, the Armed Forces, and the Federal Reserve System. Mr. Zakaria goes on to state that these three have one thing in common: they are insulated from public pressures and operate undemocratically. Mr. Zakaria concludes that those with immense power in our society should embrace their responsibilities, lead and set standards that are not only legal but moral. I find these statements and assertions concerning our democratic system of government an implicit, if not explicit, rejection of our democratic system. I argue here for democracy and why I believe in this system. First, as to its defects. Democracy is a system of political equality, where those over a certain age are given and may exercise the voting franchise. That does not mean that everyone is equal in their talents and abilities. Democracy does afford, however, some equal starting point and some equality of opportunity for all. All in all, I fully believe in a democratic system of government in which the officials who govern us, our leaders as it were, are subject to the scrutiny of the voting electorate. I believe in democracy, well knowing that power, if concentrated in the few or in one person, will be abused. I believe in democracy because men, if given the chance, are so bad that no man alone can be entrusted with unchecked power over his fellows. I oppose slavery because I fear and oppose masters. There can be no doubt that democracy is the best of all possible worlds. I would like to comment, however, on certain, shall we say, developments or trends. I am a daily and avid reader of the New York Times, and I always find stimulation and thought in the opinions as presented on the editorial page and the news reportage in the body of the newspaper. I take issue, however, with the New York Times in one respect. The New York Times, almost on a daily basis in the editorial and opinion pages, is critical of Donald Trump. They say he is a bigot, a racist, a xenophobe, and they draw this conclusion from several of his statements concerning Muslims and other ethnic groups, particularly undocumented immigrants. Today, in the Sunday magazine, Mr. Kristof refers to Donald Trump as dangerous. I take no position concerning the policies and political positions of Mr. Trump. I say this, however: if Mr. Trump is a racist and a bigot, then the New York Times must conclude that the millions of people favoring him, either politically or personally, are also racists and bigots. In the Saturday op-ed page of the March 5, 2016 New York Times, there is a column intensely critical of Mr. Trump by Mr. Timothy Egan. The column is easily available, but there are many statements in it connecting him with race bias and religious bias, and even with the Ku Klux Klan. I find one particular paragraph distasteful, in which Mr. Egan states in support of his opposition to Mr. Trump that a huge portion of the American population is woefully ignorant. The implication in this statement is that only ignorant people favor Mr. Trump. I suggest Mr. Egan revise his view that lack of education, or what he seems to regard as ignorance, is a disqualification for thought and intellect. I would also like to comment on Hillary Rodham Clinton's concern for women's rights. Let me say that I personally believe that full rights be accorded every citizen in this country, but I note that Mrs. Clinton makes no mention that women in a number of third world countries have no rights, or minimal rights. It is certainly well known that in Afghanistan, girls cannot attain education, and in certain countries there are honor killings of women who involve themselves in relationships outside of formal marriage. The issue, moreover, in our present society is not discrimination against women, but that those without money or economic power are barred effectually from advancement. Money is the issue for the advancement for both women and men, and sex is not the bar. Finally, I add this. Mrs. Clinton and the entire Democratic Party are very concerned about civil rights. But I say this, at the present time, there is a virtual genocide of Christian communities in many parts of the world. The Chinese government, the other day I read in the New York Times, was bulldozing churches, tearing down crosses, and has jailed a Protestant pastor for 14 years. In the New York Times of March 5, 2016, it was reported that in Yemen, gunmen killed 16 people in a home founded by Mother Teresa. 6 were nuns. I submit that the present attacks on Christian communities in many parts of the world should be addressed by the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party. I conclude this video by saying that I do endorse the democratic system full-heartedly, and I do not think anyone should be excluded from the goal of equality, caring, concern, and being accorded a full life in our system and in other systems. Andrew J. Shatkin is an attorney in Jericho, New York, with offices in Brooklyn and Suffolk, and is author of multiple books on law and Christianity, including Essays of the Christian View. He is a graduate of Princeton Theological Seminary, with a Master of Divinity degree in Biblical Languages, and is a member of the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, and will be entering the colloquy program to become a Lutheran pastor.